Today on the Tom Kelly Show podcast, we are going to talk about the 2023 Writers Guild of America strike against Hollywood. Plus, we'll talk about my incessant need for Ben & Jerry's ice cream at 10:51 p.m. at night. Let's start the show.
The Tom Kelly Show. Everybody, I want you to go to the Tom Kelly Show. I want you all to know about the Tom Kelly Show. Thank you.
Here we go. Trigger warning, spoiler alert. For the love of God, don't cross that picket line. You are experiencing a real-time edition of the Tom Kelly Show. Saturday night, May 13th. I should be at the bars, but I'm not. I am here podcasting for you on this very special Mother's Day Eve. By the way, happy Mother's Day. I know we have a lot of moms who listen to the show, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there who do the mom work and all the dads who do mom work and don't get credit for it. There's a couple of those who do listen to this show. I know who you are, and happy Mother's Day to you. But right now, let's talk about something that's in the headlines. Let's talk about the Writers Guild of America strike, the 2023 Writers Guild strike. I have some statistics and stuff on it. I'm going to be honest, man. I have a lot. I work in television, and I want to say very clearly, I support my friends who are striking right now. People have asked me, Tom, are you on strike right now? No, I am unemployed. So that's different. I have a lot of friends who are out there pretending they're on strike, but once the strike's over, they'll still be unemployed. And I might fall into that category. Joking aside or self-loathing aside, I have friends who are not in television or show business, and they're always like, Tom, why should I care about this writer's strike? And it's really, it's really about the disparity of what we do compared to what they make off of everything we do. In many ways, the world is out there screaming, oh, let's give the poor people $20 an hour for minimum wage. But if you think about, like curbing executive pay, oh, those big shot phony corporate board people, they don't deserve $20 million a year. Frankly, all of that stuff applies to the writer's strike. In essence, at its best, and then we could nitpick it in a second, a writer, an idea maker, a producer, people who work on a Hollywood show, they create a product, and that product will continue to make that company money for possibly eternity. I actually found a couple of these doing the mail today. This is, in essence, one of the things the writers are fighting over. These are residual checks from my appearances on I believe it's from The View, from one particular episode that I was on. This is a check for $10.97. This is a recurring Hollywood joke. This is a check for $10.97 that I got last year that I put on a pile and forgot to cash. This is a check for $4.58. This is a check for $5.90. This is a check for $10.97. And this one is a check for $5.16. These are residual checks. What's a residual check? Every time the TV show airs in another market or gets repeated, they give you some form of percentage of your original paycheck. And that's the first core argument I'm going to give to my non-show business friends is if you create something great and that work keeps making somebody else money, do you deserve a piece of that money? And I definitely agree in the case of the idea makers and people who are on air, and I have an argument about the on-air people especially, deserve a little piece of the pie. And a continuing piece of the pie. Now, the argument, years ago, all these deals were negotiated for what we would call the big three networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, And then in the 80s, we could throw in Fox. Those deals were negotiated. Certain standards were set up. And then every now and again, they'd start fighting over the money and, they would come to terms and whatever. But in this age of streaming, everybody, the big companies, they're screaming, well, we don't know if we're going to make money on this yet, so we shouldn't have to pay you as much. So they come up with shows like Orange is the New Black, which put Netflix on the map. What are some other network shows? We could argue Game of Thrones was on proper HBO. The Boys on Amazon Prime. Amazon's like, well, we can't afford to pay you the network money, but if you got a good idea, we'll put money into it. And we're not fighting for celebrity writers. We're not fighting for your, the Shonda Rhimes or your J.J. Abrams types of people. We're fighting for guys like me who create stuff, and these little $10.97 checks mean something. And obviously, if you are creating a bigger idea, these residual checks and a fair payment up front means something. And and then I'll add to actors. I'll add to the actor front. There's the great story of the cast of Gilligan's Island. That the cast of Gilligan's Island did Gilligan's Island, but there were no residuals at the time for whenever they were on TV. And many of the cast of Gilligan's Island did not. They died poor. And I could be screwing this up, but I remember one person telling me the guy who played the skipper on Gilligan's Island was working in a seafood restaurant for many years because he was typecast as the skipper. He could never get any other on-air work. But that's a digression. What matters to the writers is, there's a big explosion coming in media right now. Do the writers and do creative types deserve a fair check? And I'm going to argue there's a lot of overpaid people in Hollywood. The people who run the studios, the executives are overpaid. And frankly, we're overpaying a lot of the big name talent. At a certain point, people, there's a lot of people screaming, I believe in paying my fellow man a fair paycheck. And those are usually the people making a lot of money at the top who are not sharing their own money. It's, I'll bite the hand that feeds me for a second. My favorite company, Disney, they're out on the forefront fighting Ron DeSantis on certain corporate and cultural issues. But when it comes to paying everybody an extra $1 an hour, brakes come on. And that's where you could apply this to every business we're in. It's not until all the workers stand up to the boss and fight for something fair do other things become fair. Do the wages become fair? I'm a big union man. Here's my problem with what I think is going to happen for the writer's strike. I actually have the statistics here. Give me a second here. Where are we? Yeah, hang on. Pulling this up. Now, here's the thing with the writer's strike is when you go on strike, you really get into how long can the company live without your work? How long can the company live without creating new stuff? The 1988 writer's strike went for 5 months. The 2007 strike went for 7 weeks. And the 1960 strike was 6 weeks. And remember now, all of this was before streaming. All of this was before TikTok and YouTube. And all of this was before idiots like me giving the content away for free. There's so much more content out here. And this is a little bit of media history, but the writers went on strike in 1987. And everybody in those days, once you got through the summer repeats, you're like, oh my God, I need to watch new TV. I can't watch another rerun of what was on in 1988. It's not Chips, but let's say Chips. Okay, I can't watch another repeat of Elf. Oh my God, I'm going to kill myself, whatever. And then people started watching shows like Married with Children and The Simpsons on Fox, which nobody had seen yet. And the 1988 strike arguably led to the rise of the Fox network. There's an argument that the 2007 strike led to the rise of reality TV. Actually, there's a Reddit thread that says the 2007 writer's strike led to the creation of Donald Trump. Were there no writer's strike, there would have been less reality TV. And then if there was less reality TV, then Donald Trump would not have gotten the Apprentice deal. If Donald Trump had not gotten the Apprentice deal, you wouldn't have known who he was, and then he wouldn't have been president. Then there wouldn't have been January 6th. Boom. Conspiracy theories. I need a glass of water on that one. That's how powerful that one was. Here's my argument, though. The last 5 years of television, and I've said this point on the podcast before, we have been creating too much television because there are all of these frontiers. If you go through the streaming networks, just off the top of my head, there is Disney Plus, there is Hulu, there is Discovery Plus, there is Paramount Plus. A lot of pluses, by the way. In these networks. It's like LBGTQIA plus. Does that mean they're getting a TV network? I'm not sure. I think that's a hacky joke, but I'm leaving it in. NBC has Peacock. I don't know if anybody's really paying for Peacock, but there's a few great shows on it. And I'm missing other ones. There's Roku, there's Amazon. Oh, did I say Netflix? And there's an argument about who is making money on this stuff and who isn't. And and it's funny, I support the writers. I don't know if the writers are going to get everything they want. And I'll go through more of the list in a minute, because I feel like they're fighting an enemy that is very well supplied. And this is my continuing argument with everything on television. Why would I watch a daytime TV show? Why would I watch an episode of Jerry Springer or a daytime talk show when I still haven't seen Mad Men for the first time? And that's a great argument. Is right now there are people creating movie quality television, hours and hours of TV. I mean, I'm watching Breaking Bad right now for the second time. Why do I really, it's funny. We should be rewarding these writers. Now, I'll also argue we should be punishing the bad writers. Who came up with the Game of Thrones ending? Punish them. I've been very anti-Star Trek Picard right now. We should punish those writers. But you get what I'm saying, people, is if you create something that is making the company lots of money, those creative people deserve more money. And now you're going to say, well, Tom, don't the stagehands deserve residual checks? Actually, I secretly do believe that. I do. Now, whether or not that's realistic, I think, we could argue. Yeah, actually, let me just make a point and say, I do, but let's at least argue the people who create something good deserve these nickels and dimes that keep adding it up if the company's making money. And here's the thing with The View. If it weren't for my union, if it weren't for the SAG-AFTRA union, which I have a list of complaints about, what are you going to do? Now, there's something to say about now for what the unions fight for and what happens. What a lot of these unions are doing in show business is they'll fight for a couple of job titles, this, that, or the other thing. And what the TV producers will do is they'll change the title to producer. There's a great story about my old boss, Liza Persky's dad. His name was Bill Persky. And it still is Bill Persky. He's alive and doing well. He was a big shot TV producer. He came up with the show That Girl with Marlo Thomas. He was a big TV director on the show Kate and Allie. And there's a story about him giving a speech at a college. One of the kids in the audience raises his hand and says, Mr. Persky, I want to be a TV writer, and I need your advice on being a TV writer. And Bill Persky says, well, here's what you do. You write as much as you can. You write for everything that will let you write. You write for the school newspaper. You write for this. You write for that. And the more you refine your craft, the more you work as a writer, the better the writer you'll be, and that's your pathway to success. And then the same kid raises his hand and says, well, Mr. Persky, what if I want to be a TV producer? And Bill Persky says, oh, that's easy, kid. Just get some business cards with your name on it that say TV producer. And right now you're seeing a lot of TV shows, changing titles to the word producer. There are TV shows where you'll see game show writers and they get called content producer. You know, and I know writers who take it. There are people who are taking my warm-up comedy job. And there's a couple of TV shows out there where they call the job hype producer. It's just a comedian telling jokes, but to get around the SAG, to get around health insurance and benefits, let's call it a hype producer. You know, it would be easy in any business in life if we just paid people what was a little bit fair, a little bit. You know, like, I mean, here's my thing. Like right now you see Starbucks is unionizing. Here's the funny thing. If those people if the big shots at Starbucks paid those teenage kids making coffee an extra 50 cents or $1 an hour, they'd probably get a little bit lazier and say, well, maybe I don't have to work this hard. Maybe I don't need to unionize. Like, it's just funny. Like I think you really, in any business, you got to pay people just enough that you attract good quality employees and they don't notice you're screwing them. And, you know, we could go through the list of writers' demands quick. You know, the writers want increased pay. Agreed. Deserve it. Better residuals. You know, boom, I get it. Staffing requirements. That's my point about getting around things by calling people producers. You know, they want to require blank number of writers per show, and there's a lot of writing rooms becoming mini rooms. Shorter exclusivity deals. I get that. The exclusivity deal I get. You know, like they want to say, oh, if you're a writer for the Tom Kelly show, you can't write for the Tonight Show for 6 months. You know, how long of a window do you need to keep me exclusive? Assurances on AI. That's the line that's getting a lot of headlines. And this is going to sound crazy, but as a man who is playing with ChatGPT every day, which you should be too, because I think there's a great line in the movie Hidden Figures, which was written by a human being. If you remember the movie Hidden Figures, it was about the room of African-American mathematicians who did the math that got the lunar lander to the moon. And it was a room full of, let's say, 50 female mathematicians. And I believe the character was played by Octavia Spencer. No, wait. I want to get this right. Okay, yes, it was Octavia Spencer's character. Octavia Spencer's character has a line that all the mathematicians are about to be replaced by the first giant IBM computer. And it's a giant room, and they're going to install a computer in the room. It's a giant room-sized computer. And Octavia Spencer had a line about this incoming technology that was going to put her out of work. She said, well, somebody's going to need how to pull the levers. And that's how I feel about ChatGPT. If you want my full feelings about ChatGPT, go listen to the episode I did a few weeks ago with Steve Berger. Powerful conversation, rated very well on YouTube. And then I did another episode where you could see ChatGPT producing the podcast. And I hate to say it, man, it's going to put writers' assistants and junior writers out of work. Should big media companies be making giant declarations saying we're going to guarantee 3 writers per show and never use an AI? That's what I want emotionally. I just don't think you're going to see it. You know, I'm going to digress and just tell a story that I love to tell. There's a story about my Irish grandfather, Tom Kelly, I guess the first. Thomas J. Kelly the first. And this is going back to the mid-1970s when the first ATMs were coming out. My grandfather refused to use ATMs because he always felt like the ATM was putting one bank teller out of work. Funny how my opinions on that sort of stuff changes when it gets to me. What do writing assurances on AI? All right, that's only the last big one. In closure, I support my friends who are striking writers, Josh Payne, Tim Sicardo, David Levinson, my friend Ari, they're all in the WGA and they're on strike and they have families to feed and whatnot. And they are giving up work. So future generations, people like me, and maybe people like your kids who want to create, they get their fair piece of the pie. And if companies did the right things, we wouldn't need unions. But I'm scared for the writers union because I think we have created so much content. There's so many great shows that I haven't seen yet that I think I won't notice the writers are on strike for a while. I mean, and we get into the 1987 strike or the 1988 strike gave way to the Fox network. The 2007 strike arguably gave rise to reality TV. And the 2023 strike right now, again, there are podcasters giving it away for free. There are great writers telling their stories about writing for free on the internet right now. Is this writer's strike going to lead to the final crumbling of network TV as we know it? Are we all going to be on TikTok? And by the way, you get into writers and big companies fighting for rights. I am watching TV shows 30 seconds at a time on TikTok. Is the money really going back to the writer on that? That's the kind of stuff that needs to be decided and needs to be fought for. So I don't know if I had a huge funny show. I don't know but I feel, here's my little punchline. I feel about the writers the way I feel about the Ukrainian army. I believe in the cause. I just wonder if they are armed well enough to win the war. All right. Big things coming up this week. I am if you are listening to today, Monday, May 15th, you should know that on May 16th, I'm in the first round of the second preliminary round of the Boston Comedy Festival up in Boston. The show is at City Winery. The information is on my website, TomKellyShow.com. Hit the tour site button there. What else is going on in my life? I've been doing a lot of new TikToks and a little bit of Instagram. I've got some drama there. And most importantly, again, this is the podcast where the offbeat come to meet. And I've always been, and if you're new to the show, hit subscribe. Write me a little review on Apple Podcasts if you have time and have not already. And obviously, show love where love can be shown. We have a great little group of friends who BS with each other in the secret Tom Kelly Show Facebook fan group. And yeah, we're building a community here. And thank you for your support. And hopefully I'll give you some updates on the Boston Comedy Festival this Wednesday. But for right now, happy Mother's Day. Good night, New York.